Hi there, it's Cheryl, and I have a lovely, delicate, dainty looking card for you this week. I put a sentiment on the front. It's just a sweet friendship refreshes the soul, but I left the inside blank because I'm going to leave this as an all occasion sort of card, and it could be used for so many different things. So what we're going to need for this card is, let's start with the papers. It's a 5x7 card, so I'm using old Olive Cardstock, and this is cut to 7 by 10 inches, and then it's scored and folded at 5 inches. It's our card base. I have a nice piece here of the new, the new color. It's, what is it? Purple Posy, I believe. I'm not real sure. I think it is. I think it's Purple Posy. I'll have everything down in the supply list. But it's one of the new in colors from Stampin Up. And then I have a piece of their Vellum. This is the new colored Vellum they came out with now. And it's the green color, and it's the like an old olive color. Now on the front side of it, or what I'm assuming is the front side, it's very green. If you turn it over, it's kind of a hazy green. Can you see the difference when I flip it over? If you want to use this side, then feel free to do that. I used this side. And then I have pieces of a very vanilla cardstock here. I have two pieces that are 4.5 by 6.5 inches. And I'll use the one for our card front and one for our inside of our card. And then this was a strip that I had trimmed off to make these pieces, and we'll be stamping our flowers and our leaves on this. Very vanilla. So this inks we'll be using are Highland Heather. We're going to use soft Seafoam and Old Olive. And we have the sponge daubers for the Highland Heather and the soft Seafoam here. I have a water spritzer, and I have these markers that we'll be using. This is soft Seafoam, Old Olive, Crumb Cake, and Highland Heather. We'll need a corner rounder, and somewhere, where did my glue get to? Here it is. I'll be using the Tombow glue and also the designer Dries clear adhesive. And on to the stamps and dies. Well, we're going to be using the Stamparatus, and we'll be using the Butterfly Wishes stamp set. That's from Stampin' Up. That's where I got the sentiment for the front, as well as this beautiful little branch image here. It's got some nice butterflies on here too, and a couple other nice sentiments, but we'll just be using these two today. Then from Heartfelt Creations, I'm using the Regal Frame and Accents die set. So we'll be using this die, and then the outline die, and also this die for various bits on our card. And the flowers are from the Sweet Cherry Blossoms, or Tweet Cherry Blossoms, and the dies also, and the cherry blossom shaping mold. Usually I would bring out a flower shaping mat, but I'm not even going to shape the flowers. In addition to how they come out of the mold, I'm just going to put them right to the card. And so in addition to my spritzer, I have a piece of wet paper toweling right here. So let's start off with the flowers. We'll do those, and then I can go off and I can do all the die cutting that we need to do. So let's see. I'll need my stamps. So I need the leaves. I need my largest flowers. And I'll need my medium-sized flowers. We won't be using the small ones or the birds on this card. So, because these won't quite fit on here, I don't think. Maybe if I try real hard, I might be able to. But we need 3 of the big ones. And then I just need 4 of the little ones. Then we're going to need, we need 2 of the 3-leaf clusters and 4 of the small ones. So I'm going to try to squeeze those large ones on here. Let's see. I'm going to need a block for that. I should have got one of those out earlier. But let's see, that'll fit on this one. And I'm stamping these in the Highland Heather ink. And let's see if I can squeeze that on there. I gotta get right up on top here to see where I'm going. And I might have done it. I might have made it. Ooh, I did. I got all 3 on that little piece. You could use a different piece of cardstock if you want, but you know, I'm so frugal with my crafting supplies. I wanted to use some of this scrap paper up. Okay, and these fit on here very easily. So we've got our smaller sized flowers. And we'll do the leaves in the soft Seafoam. I think I'm going to have to re-ink this. My grandson likes to come in here. He wants to sit up in my chair, which is kind of it's a high chair. It's like a stool type of seat. He wants to sit up here in my seat and do colors. That's what he calls it. So I give him a sponge dauber, and he puts it on he loads it up on the stamp pad, and then he makes circles. That's what he calls it. So there we go. There's just our little leaves right there. I don't need all of them. We might as well start with the Seafoam, since I already have this open. I'll get my dauber and I just like to daub it off on the side here a little bit. That gets the ink distributed nicely in my sponge dauber, and it also keeps from having like big harsh globs of ink show up on your paper. And we're not adding a whole lot of color to these. We just want them very soft. So we just get all of our leaves done here. This is very, very easy sponging too. It's not like when you're doing a whole big thing, like if you were doing a background or something, or you have to have it all nice and smooth. As a matter of fact, if some parts are darker and some parts are lighter, it makes the leaves look a little more interesting, I think. I do like to go outside the line, so that way if I get a little bit off on my die cutting, it's not as noticeable. Okay, so let's do the flowers now. Again, it's just very simple sponging. Get that open and get my sponge dauber. I invested in a set of sponge daubers, and these are for certain colors. This has saved me so much time on cleaning. I prefer to spend my crafting time actually crafting rather than washing sponge daubers or whatever. Okay, so the big ones are all done. Little ones. And I'm just about ready now. I'm going to cut these out. I'll come back and I'll show you how I put them in the tray. I know some of you are familiar with how to do that. It's not a very difficult thing to do if you know what you're doing. If you've seen it done once, you should be good. But there are some people don't know how these big these flower shaping molds work. So I'll show how to load that up. Okay, so I'm going to cut these out. I'm going to cut out this lacy part. I'll cut out this part here. That's the purple Posy. And I'll also cut this piece out. And then we'll be ready to do this stamping on here, to do this multicolor stamping. And then that's when I'll bring in my Stamparatus. Okay, so be back in a minute. Okay, I'm back from visiting Mr. Big Shot, and I have all my pieces cut out. This is my piece of vellum, and I used this die for that. This is one of the pieces of the Very Vanilla. And I cut this piece from the center because this will be hidden on the front of our card. So I didn't see any sense in wasting paper, so I just cut this piece from the center. We'll be using both of these pieces on the card. And then I cut this piece using this die. This is just the edge die from the purple Posy cardstock. So now we can get our flowers ready to shape. Okay, so you take the top off the mold, and you see you've got all these nice depressions in here. And we just take our flower pieces and put them in there. I like to just kind of smush them down a little bit around that center part. It just helps to keep them centered. So I just like to give them a little press like that and get them started shaping. And I do the same with my medium-sized flowers here too. Just get them in there. And these shaping molds are really quite nice. There's a lot of gives a lot of dimension to your flowers without you putting a lot of effort into it. When Heartfelt Creations first started out, you had to sit here with your shaping tools and all, and you know, especially now I'm getting older, you know, my hands can't take all that working so much. So this is so much easier. And just put all my pieces in here, and it's just going to shape them nice for me. Like I said, we're not going to do any additional shaping on these at all. Okay, so I have one more flower, and you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to just stick it in this mold. This one's supposed to be for three leaves, but that's okay. So I've got them all in there like this. Now I'm going to take my spritzer. I'm going to just spritz them lightly. Make sure I get them all a little dampened. Don't want to get too crazy on this because we are working with the dye-based inks. Okay, so now on the top of the mold, you see it's got 1, 2, 3 feet and then one plain corner here. This plain corner goes with this cut off corner. You see how that's cut off? And then these other ones have little depressions for the feet. So you just line it up like that. Place it down on the bottom piece like this. And then for your big shot, you just sandwich it between your two cutting plates like this. That takes the place of your cutting platform. On a Cuttlebug, again, this takes the place of the cutting platform, and use your two B plates. Don't use your C plate. Use your two B plates on that. Okay, so I'm going to go run this through Big Shot, and then we can put our card together. Okay, so I've run my flowers through my Big Shot, and here we go. This is the great reveal. Yeah, just dump them all out, and look at how pretty and how nicely shaped these all are. So that would have taken me some time to do that, so I'm going to put these aside here to let them dry a little bit. Let me scrape them off into my hand. So I don't want to undo all that pretty shaping that we've done already. Now I've put my my oval piece here. I've got it already set up in my Stamparatus. I've put my sentiment. I just lined it up on here, put it right here where I thought I would like it to be. Picked it up with the lid, and then I took the lid off like this. And I'm just going to do a quick check using the grid to make sure that I have it nice and straight on there. So put that back in here and get our Old Olive ink. We're going to stamp that with Old Olive. We'll ink that up. That looks pretty good. And we'll stamp. Oh, there we go. That looks good. That looks wonderful. So now we can take this piece off. We're going to take that stamp off. So we'll be using the flower one now. Now I have to move it down. My paper happens to have grid work on it, so I can use that. If yours doesn't, you can use the grid that's already on here. I like to have a little piece of craft foam in here, and this is something else totally different. That's to make like a wreath type of thing, and I just keep that in here. But I keep this it's just very thin foam, and I find it gives me a nicer impression. But if you don't use that, then you could just line it up with your grid. I'll put my magnet on here because we don't want that moving. And our branch will go right here. Let me move that down a little bit. So I liked it just overlapping the sentiment a little bit. Okay, so there's our branch. And I'll pick that up with my lid. This is where the damp paper towel comes in. I'm going to just dampen my sponge. I'm just going to dampen my image, and I'm going to stamp it with just being a little bit damp. And that will help us to get a nice watercolory effect on there. Okay, so now we're going to use our markers. Let's see, what should we do first? You want to do the branches first? Let's do the branches first. I'm just going to use my marker, and wherever I see the branch, I'm going to add some crumb cake to it. And you can have that come into your flowers a little bit if you want, because this is a watercolory effect. Okay, and then I'll stamp my branch. Okay, and there's my branch. See, it's all smudgy and watercolory looking. I'm going to wipe that off a little bit with my damp paper towel, and then I'll go on to my next color. And I think I'll do the leaves. Now, if you need to, you can refer, let's see, where did I put my stamp set? I can't find it. Well, it's around here somewhere, but if you're not sure what goes where, you can refer to the picture on the front of your stamp set. So now I'll do some leaves. Let's see. I think these are leaves. This would be so much easier if I knew where my stamp set was and I could refer to it. Oh, I know, I can refer to my card. Okay, there's some leaves there. And we're using the soft Seafoam right now. Some leaves there. And we've got some out here. Okay, and now we'll stamp that one. And you'll notice these are just the regular markers. They're not alcohol markers. I understand that alcohol markers are not good to use on your rubber stamps because it's hard on the rubber. I don't know. I'm certainly not going to recommend using them on the stamps, but when you think about it, how many times do you think you're going to use this stamp? You know, maybe 20? I think 20 might even be a lot. And that's even for me. So, if you used your alcohol marker and cleaned it off immediately, I don't see where that would really harm it a lot. Okay, so that's up to you whether you want to take the chance or not. And I'm going to do this one more time with my flowers because they're kind of spotty looking. I don't want my flowers to be spotted. I'm going to do that again. Oh, and that's better. Now I'm going to take my marker. I'm just going to add a little color to the center of this one big flower. And because we've dampened this a little bit, it's going to help to spread it out there. I see a little section right here that I think I need to do a little something more with too. So now would be a good time to do it. Okay, so that's right here. I think those might be leaves there that I missed. So let me try that. Let's see how that works. I don't know. I think I'm still missing it. Oh. This would be a better end to use. The paintbrush end works so much better. Okay, so there we go. So I added that in there. I think I used, I think I made that a flower last time though. Okay, so now I have my old olive, and I'm just going to, just on some of these leaves, I'm just going to add a little bit of this old olive. Just a little flick here and there. Just to jazz it up a little bit. And there we go. So that's done. And then I added, let me wipe this off. Then I added just a little extra bit here coming in from the side. So I'll put that right there. Pick that up. And we'll do the same thing with just this little section. So I'm not going to make you watch that. So I'll get that finished and we'll continue on with the card. So what do you say we get this card put together, shall we? We're going to do some corner rounding. We need the corners on this piece rounded. So I'll just do this. all the corners. We're going to do it on this piece too. This takes a bit of pressure. So there we go. If I make some grunting sounds, then you'll know you'll know why that is. But I'll try not to. Okay, that is open. Sometimes this gets stuck shut when I'm doing something really heavy duty like this. Okay. So I'm going through 2 layers of the cardstock here. That's why it's so hard. Put that back in the center, in the middle here. And we also want to round this piece. This is the one that goes on the front of the card. There we go. So that's ready to go. I have my flowers sitting over here, and they feel like they're nice and dry now. So they're ready to go on the card. So let's do the inside part first. That's the most boring part. So I'm going to use the Tombow. So I like the Tombow. It gives me a little bit of time to get things lined up. Oop. There we go. And there. We've got a nice border all around here. And, oh, I probably should have just used repositionable tape for this, huh? Well, if I stamp on this, I'll just have to take my chances, I guess. I won't be, well, I could put it in my, yeah, because my Stamparatus has the open side. I can put it in this way and lay my sentiment across like this and stamp it, and easy peasy, no problems. Okay, so now we can move on to the rest of our pieces. And again, I'm using Tombow. I'll be using Tombow for all of these. I'm going to switch over to the Dries clear though when I attach the flowers. And we'll get that lined up nicely on the front of the card. The next piece will be our purple Posy piece, which adds a nice background for our piece of vellum. And Tombow again. I'll put that on there real nice. Right in the center. Okay, and then for our vellum piece, we're just going to put it in the center part here. You see that shows through? Yeah, vellum is notorious for that. And we've got a little bit of, you see that warping there? Yeah. That's nothing that we want to see on the front of our card. So this will be all hidden right behind this piece. And again, I'll use the Tombow. And center that. Now, if you're sending this through the mail, you could stop right here. And this would be such a lovely card just as it is. But I had to add some flowers. I have lace, I have flowers. I need more flowers. So I'm going to add my flowers now. Let me get them in here. Let's see, I'll want one with 3 on each side here. I'll want a cluster of 2 on each side here. And I'll want 2 down the bottom, so I'm just kind of laying them out. I want one large flower here, one large here, one large here, and then we need 2. Just put these off to the side here. We want 2 for each of our corners here. And I have some extra little flowers here. I can leave them on my craft table, and my kitties can have a good time with those later. They like these flowers. Okay, so I'm going to put the leaves down first to give us our base for our flowers. So move aside there, big flower. I'm going to put one here, just like this. I'm going to have another one right here of the little ones, the 2-part ones. I'm going to have that coming in here like so. We'll do the same thing. We're going to echo that over here on this side. I like this lacy part here. It's got those nice little swirly things. They remind me of vines. And then it's got the lattice work, and of course lattice and flowers go together nice. Okay, so we have our leaves there. And then we'll put our leaves on down here. We'll leave a little bit of a space in between there so that our flower will sit right on top. So there we go. Put a little glue. I'm just putting a little bit on the stems on these flowers. You might notice. That's plenty to keep it held on to here. Okay, and since I'm working on this one, I'll put this big one right here, right in place. Just put a little glob of the glue there. And put it right in the center. I'm going to give it a little poke with my finger. Being careful not to smush my petals down. And then I'll do the big ones in each of the corners. Put one there. And I'll put one over here. Just like that. And then we'll tuck in our little flowers. Oh, I seem to have taken away 2 of my flowers that I'll need. Let's see. Which ones do I like the best? I think those 2. They look more watercolory than the others. Okay. Now we'll tuck a little flower in here. And one up here. Oops. It's getting away from me. Luckily that didn't drop on the card. It just fell on my craft mat. I'm going to tuck my little ones behind that big flower. And we'll do the same on this side, and then our card will be finished. So if you liked this video, make sure you hit that like button down below, because I do check things like that, and that gives me an idea of what people like, and I just might do more of that type of thing. If you want to see more of my videos, hit that subscribe button, and then after you do that, a little bell thing will pop up, a little bell icon. And if you click on that bell icon, what will happen is YouTube will notify you when I post more videos. Isn't that a wonderful thing? And as always, I'll list all of my tools and materials that I used today down below in the description area. If you have any questions or comments, feel free to ask or comment. And if there are any materials that you'd like to purchase that are Stampin' Up, then that would be wonderful if you used me as your demonstrator. And you can do that either through my Facebook page or my blog. And those are down there too. I'll have those down there below. So there's our card for today. The lovely watercolory, so soft and and feminine looking, I think. So y'all take care, stay safe, and happy stamping.